in case I ever actually do post a review, I've found a mistake in here. Okay, I know they've tried to shift things around to match the Southern Hemisphere, but it is made by people in the Northern Hemisphere, I believe in the UK, and they shifted the zodiac signs around as well. Just because we're on the Southern Hemisphere, no, it's the zodiacs are the same. That's wrong. So, I don't know. I mean, I know there's someone who does a diary that actually is from Sydney and he actually lives in the Southern Hemisphere. I hope their book is better. But just rotating Northern Hemisphere stuff and then not thinking and rotating the wrong things, not a good look. Not that it matters, because Zodiac is bullshit. As much bullshit as all this witchcraft shit is, so. But, yeah. I wonder how many people actually noticed. I also wonder about this section. The directions and elements. As I gather it, if they're taking it from Wicca, I think the, elements and directions had something to do with the geography. And I feel like they should have reversed this, because here they've got north being earth and winter, east being air and spring, south being fire and summer, and west being water and autumn. The thing is, in Sydney, the water is to the east. And the west, I don't know, you could call it air. Maybe. I mean, we could mix a few things up. To the north, I would say summer, because, we're in the Southern Hemisphere. Makes more sense for the sun to be in the north, right? And then the south, see, I actually think I would completely rejig this. So north would be the sun and summer. East would be water. I don't really know what season. South I would make probably air, because when a southerly comes up, and this is such an Aussie thing, when the southerly comes up and it brings those winds, the temperature can drop like 20 degrees in an hour. It's wild. And I would put winter down the south. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because, we do get Antarctic blasts. And then west, what's left over? Earth. Probably, because it's just, if you go far enough, it's just desert. And so what, do I have to choose between spring and autumn? I guess you could say the east is spring and the west is autumn. Maybe that's the only thing I keep from this version of the chart. You can tell, I'm now curious. And if I can be bothered to spend the money, maybe I'll get next year's one done by the Sydney chick, the Sydney witch, and see if she's got a different opinion that fits the location better. You could do this. You could do the west being water if you're on the western side of Australia. But not here in Sydney, I don't think. And I would still put fire and summer to the north. Just my thoughts. Oh my gosh, I ended it too soon. The very next page is about trees. And, none of them are Australian trees. It's very Northern Hemisphere, very, very UK. And so that goes to show that if you're going to do this kind of, witchcrafty nonsense, you can't just invert things for the Southern Hemisphere, because Australia is so different. I know people like to think it's not because, the British invaded, blah, 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 blah. But there is so much here that is just not the same. Not a single gum tree in this list. I'm sure the Indigenous Australians would have their own ideas about this stuff, and the only thing is you can't participate unless they include you in that, so... We could just accept that it's all bullshit. Oh, my heat pack is ready. I can start fixing my neck and shoulders with science or whatever. I don't know, this stuff is fascinating, but the fact that no one really notices on, guys. Come on. Found another thing that makes this not really suitable for Southern Hemisphere, or at least not Australia. This stuff about hedgehogs, and it also mentions badgers. We don't have those here. I guess you could take it as symbolic, but like there's a thing, or witchy tip, hedgehogs will keep slugs, snails, and even mice at bay. Cool, we don't have them. Can't believe I'm still finding things to complain about, but the incantations in this are also like, what were they thinking? Because they just don't really make sense if they're meant to be incantations, at least as how I understand from my non-witchy perspective how incantations should be. But like this one, right? Bone witch incantation. Like a lot of them are like this. They all have these really annoying, obvious rhymes. But they, like, if it's an incantation, aren't you trying to achieve something? But most of them will describe like what the topic is rather than achieving anything. And there's some that have been quite extensive where it's like, so you're just telling people through terrible poem, what a bone witch is, or what this witch or that animal or whatever. Like, you're just describing it. You're not actually, like, it. Have I misunderstood the purpose of an incantation in this? But like this one, right? With hands that weave the fates of bone, the bone witch walks the path alone. Like, that's part of your incantation as a bone witch? You're saying what you do? That doesn't make any sense. Secrets locked deep in the earth, guardian of death and rebirth. The magic is said with harm to none, so mote it be, there it is done. They will end with... Well, not all of them end like that. But it's like the magic is said. What magic? What magic was done here? Even through that witch perspective where they think that they're achieving anything. Like, okay, so this is what the bone witch does, and there are secrets in the earth, and that's the magic of this incantation, describing a bone witch. I don't get it. And I like, this is fucking hilarious as well. Try and make parsley seem like some kind of death herb. You're not going to make parsley cool. Parsley's just a garnish, get over it. It's the least metal thing ever. You know, why didn't I write a heavy metal song about parsley? Parsley, death. And like they've got a shitty poem for that too, which I will death growl for you just for lols. From tears to blade I will adorn, a deathly message to perform. 'Tis the end when I appear, mortality is not the fear. Someone remix that into some shitty death metal for me. Check it out, this is the first proper acknowledgement of Australia where most of these things are being sold. Still has this frost or beaver moon thing. We don't have beavers here. And as far as frost, like if you live in the snowy mountains, the creatively named snowy mountains maybe, but a lot of places we just don't have it. So what do you call the moon if you don't have either of those? I don't know, but we finally acknowledge some of the seasonal stuff that goes on in Australia, so I give them credit for that, but it's not really much, is it? So just as I was thinking, you know what, I've caught up to today's date in that witch diary, maybe I should just edit the video together and post it. No, good thing I waited because we've gotten even more unhinged. Like, now we are proper unhinged. This shit is like, you know, saying, oh, your moods and stuff change with the moon, which is not the case for everyone. And then things about sensory overload. Great, so now we're all autistic. Not really, but like, it's starting to sound a bit like that. But, it's like, what is this saying? Sensory overload, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. Like, first of all, it talks about the, you know, your mood changing, you know, or your sensitive side is affected with every moon phase. When the moon is waning, you find yourself naturally withdrawing, but when it's waxing, you're outrageously outgoing, and it's like, okay, no. But I like this bit. However, when recent behavior drives you crazy, like, is that your behavior or someone else's? As your mental health declines, or when you simply can't be heard, sensory overload becomes the enemy, and you could be accused of being a bit of a werewolf. Really? So now if you have emotions and frustrations, you're a werewolf. Great. But it gets worse. Men turning into wild beasts isn't all fairy tales. It's so much, for much truth surrounds how influenced you are by the moon's lunar effects. Being moonstruck and falling in love and being dazed by another's beauty drives you wild, so be aware of any insane, foolish behavior as you follow your passion, or you could be cited for being quite mad. I mean, isn't insane and madness kind of the same thing? But also, like, talking about mental health and then saying, like, you know, you're going to have insane behavior kind of shit. Like, I don't know that that's a good thing to write. But then it has another shitty incantation. Oh, dear. Which isn't really an incantation at all. It's just, like, talking about werewolves and the moon, really. But the worst part is the witchy ritual. To connect with the lunacy of the full moon and shape-shift into a werewolf, really? Wear a wolf skin. Where are you going to get that from? Under a full moon and howl into the night and observe your emotions? Boil wolfsbane, hemlock, nightshade, and wolf fat in an iron cauldron. Like, oh yeah, let me just go out and slaughter a wolf, get myself a wolf skin and some wolf's fat. Boil those things in an iron cauldron, then thrice cast a circle and rub the mixture on your body for transformation and a psychoactive effect. You were just accusing people of being insane, and now you're like, go and take psychoactive drugs! That was not on my bingo card for this. Like, I thought they were going to do the typical modern witch thing, which is like, oh no, just imagine stuff and that counts as magic, or just learn to think in a different way and that counts as magic. Like, or just wish for something and manifest. I wasn't expecting, like, no, you can definitely become a werewolf. Do these rituals with impractical materials so that most of you won't be able to test this bullshit for the bullshit that it is. I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm holding the phone so it's shaky. I'm sorry. Also, I am trying not to get a migraine, which is why I came in here to read instead of being at the computer, which is putting me off at the moment, looking at screens. Even if I look at the phone for too long, not a good thing. So I came in here, chucked on some incense up there, and thought, I'll just read where I'm up to today. It's Tuesday, the 5th of May. There are no notes for the 5th of May. But reading the page that goes with it, I'm just like, guys, first of all, witchcraft, not real. Maybe you can use, like, one of the things that made me wonder about, like, are there any utility is the idea of some people use tarot cards to figure out what they're subconsciously thinking. Because it's like when you try and make a decision, right? And you say, oh, if it's heads this, if it's tails this. If it's heads, I'll do this. If it's tails, I'll do this. Here, I'll pop you down there so you stop shaking. Okay. So if you do that, okay, you're trying to make a decision between two options. Heads do this, tails do that. You flip a coin, you get tails, but you're like, you know what? I really wanted it to be heads. That helps you make a decision. And there are some people who use tarot cards that way because tarot cards are bullshit too. But you can interpret what you want to see in that, and it can help you get past that mental block of indecisiveness, or, like, you know, if you've been thinking, maybe this person is a dick, or maybe I'm just overthinking, and then you pull some cards and then you look at them, interpret them, and be like, yeah, no, actually that person is a dick. Like, it can help you make those kinds of decisions. You know, that part of witchcraft may be helpful, but, like, you know, if you think that boiling some herbs is actually going to do anything, no. If it makes you feel better, placebo effect, maybe. There are things like that, and some of the shadow work stuff. I mean, shadow work is kind of, there's a lot of things in it that I've seen that seem a lot like trauma work, working through your traumas, working out why you act the way you act. Some of that's useful. But the stuff in this, total bullshit. And, like, if you're following this in Australia as well, it's not even following the principles of what witchcraft, like, witchcraft these days is like, oh, working with nature. But if you're not actually looking at the natural world around you and figuring out, like, what should be north, what should be south, what frickin' trees do you have in your area? And, like, wolves, we don't even really have wolves in Australia. Like, what, there's dingoes who evolved from dogs, but not quite all the way to dogs and went back a bit to wolves, but, like, it's a different thing. And also, like, if you want to do stuff to do with the land, you should be looking at indigenous culture, Of course, like, that's a protected thing and they have to initiate you, otherwise you really shouldn't be. But you could take some inspiration, I suppose. But really, like, you don't need this stuff. You want to burn incense because it's fun, it smells nice, because you're a pyromaniac trying to be within the law, go ahead, burn incense. That's why I got stuff to burn. The witchcraft, it's not real. If it helps you chill, cool. But if you think it's actually going to fix your life, no. The way to fix your life is to take action. And like some of the witchcraft stuff I've seen online is like, do this ritual and then go and take action. Sure, fine. But the important part is taking action. It's a bit like the debate with EMDR, which EMDR, I don't know, maybe it actually works, maybe it doesn't. But some people are like, the parts of it that are new, which is the eye movement, don't work. And the parts of it that do work are not new. It's the talking part going through all your issues. Now that's a bit more contentious than witchcraft, which is clearly bullshit. Sorry to anyone who actually believes this stuff and got this far in the video, but like, this is from these two chicks. Where are they? They have their bloody photos about the authors, and they're supposed to be hot shit in the witchcraft world, at least in the UK. And they just talking about all this. Flavia Kate Peters is known as the Fairy Seer, a hereditary witch and high priestess of Arnemetia and of the Morrigan. And like, she's some kind of recognized expert and teacher of natural and ancient magic. And it's like, really, you could just make all this stuff. Like, Wicca was made up. You know, what's his face went and said, oh yeah, I definitely got initiated into this group that no one can find any evidence of. And then here's a bunch of stuff that we're just going to make up on the spot. I can't pretend anymore. I'm sorry, I have snapped that part saying like, oh yeah, you could totally become a werewolf. Just go and get a werewolf, or get a wolf pelt. Not necessarily a werewolf pelt, because yeah, I'm just going to go out into my... I can't even, and it makes me think of like those of you who were there for my early YouTube days. The bloody otherkin, the Therians, the lycanthropes. One of them sent me a video of himself howling, and that was like, I prefer not to see videos of the people that I'm talking to online, honestly, or at least back then, because then the reality hits of that. Like, when you're just text in the comments, that's fine, because I can imagine whatever I want, and you're disembodied and you're not real people. But then when it turns out you're real people howling like an idiot and it's not even a decent howl, no thank you. I fucking can't. So I'm sorry. I'll try and keep reading this thing, but I think like you get the point of this video, and there's not much point me. I mean, how much worse can it get than actually turn yourself into a werewolf? I don't know how much worse it can get than that. Oh, I better put my bookmark in so I know where to pick up from. I just can't even. Now, I do think, I mean, the other major witch diary that's actually written by someone in Sydney, maybe that one's better, but it's not going to change my view of witchcraft at this point. I've tried to understand, and I think it's really just like placebo things, giving you, you know, like if you're powerless in your life, it makes you feel like you're doing something which maybe could hold some value if you really can't change the situation that you're in, which is true for some people. But I think if you can find like actual practical changes to make in your life, it'll be much more effective than witchcraft. But yeah, if you're genuinely stuck and it makes you feel good, that's cool, but just try, like, make sure you're not using it as an excuse to avoid making real changes in your life, is what I'm saying. I think that's probably enough for this, and I'll have to find all the other snippets of videos that I've made, but, holy shit. Let's all just become werewolves. Let's dive into the otherkin thing. What does Triton think of this? Don't care. No, he's looking at himself in the mirror. Are you looking at yourself in the mirror? Or you were, until I started cramping your style. Hey, yeah. Yeah. Also, if you do have certain types of mental illness, witchcraft could be a little bit dangerous if you're like prone to psychosis. I just, yeah. Maybe don't do that. I don't know. I've probably, like, you know, anyone I've offended won't be watching this far anyway, I don't think. You know, like, you do you as long as you're not hurting anyone, but I do think, yeah, you'll fix your life better if you take real world action instead of playing make-believe. But if you want to burn stuff for the sake of burning stuff, like I have been, oh god, let's see. Yeah, it's a good way, like, you know, what am I going to do with all my burnt matches? I might as well put it in this. It's a little mortar and pestle cast iron. I got it from a witchcraft shop. Because I was like, you know what? The one thing that I can get on board with in terms of witchcraft is burning shit. Because I'm that kind of nutcase. I like that. And I also got this funky obsidian knife thingy. You can't really use it as a knife. It's flat on one side. Obsidian's fun. Volcanic glass. Supposed to be an athame or athame. I don't even know how you pronounce this stuff. I just like it. It's not magic. I just like it. So that's one thing witchcraft is good for, is making things that are kind of interesting and, you know, aesthetic, and that you can burn stuff. And I might even buy some herbs from the witchcraft places if they can get their shipping policies right, or, you know, give me a discount, because who buys anything full price anymore? Yeah, no, I might buy some stuff to burn because, you know, kind of like a do-it-yourself incense. That's what the witchcraft stuff is good for, but in terms of like magic stuff, magic's not real. I saw this one guy complaining, he was like, I think it was Religion for Breakfast, and it was about fictional magic systems. And his complaint was that it's not realistic enough because if you go back in history, you know, you've got people writing on iron tablets these curses, and then they roll it up and put a pin through it and chuck it in a well or something. And so many, like, you know, hundreds of people did this as an everyday thing. But, you know, in the comments, people are like, yeah, that's because in the real world, magic doesn't work. In your fictional worlds, the reason we don't do it that way and that magic is different in fiction is because in fiction, the magic actually works. You wouldn't have to have thousands of pieces of iron chucked into a well by your average person. I mean, that's because people didn't understand how things worked back then, and they didn't know how to fix things. They didn't know what caused what, so they were trying anything that someone told them would work. Talking to their gods and whatever. The reason that fictional magic is so much more interesting is because it works in a make-believe world. So, yeah, anyway, that's my witchcraft rant. I better stop, because, like, I have friends who are witches, and, yeah. Bye.